You're listening to the God Life Culture Podcast, where faith
and what's trending collide. Welcome back to the latest episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. This is Eddie.
What's up, everyone? This is Miguel, and we are so thankful that you are tuned in for another episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. If this is your first time listening, we want you to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. We're so thankful that you are listening to us. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for taking this journey with us and week after week making us a part of your life and a part of your daily schedule or weekly schedule, whatever it is. We are just super grateful for all of you that are listening and all the new listeners that are joining us. Thank you so much. For those who are watching us on YouTube, what's up? Thank you for watching and, being a part of our podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we should start doing is like wearing like crazy outfits. Just for like that extra thing for our viewers, or maybe like put something random up on the walls to give it a little extra flair for those that are watching us on YouTube. But I know that a lot of people listen to us on their commute or while they're at work, while they're doing their things here and there as well. So they go for the traditional route, which is the podcast platforms. But regardless, at the end of the day, we're grateful for everyone and for checking us out and the kind words that they send us, when people are commenting, whether they're engaging on certain of the things that we said, giving their opinions on it, or like just sending us anything. At the end of the day, we're really appreciative of that engagement, and I think it kind of like segues to our topic for the day, which is the idea of compliments. So just off the bat, the word, how does the word make you feel? Because there's certain people that have reservations when it comes to receiving compliments, and there's other people that's kind of like, I live for it.
I mean, I don't mind compliments. I'm definitely the person that I think I'd rather be complimented one-on-one or like small group, or not even small group. I just hate when it's like there's other people around or there are compliments being given, right? Okay. But that's just a preference. But I don't know. I don't mind compliments, right? I think a part of the conversation is the different ways people compliment you, right? If you can notice if it's genuine or not, right? So it's like a lot when it comes to this idea of compliments, right? Like giving compliments. There are people that love to give compliments, hate receiving compliments in a way, or love receiving compliments and hate giving compliments. So I don't know. I don't have like any like weird relationship with compliments or that.
But where are you on the spectrum? Are you the type of person that gives out a lot of compliments?
I give out compliments when the situation merits a compliment.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Is there a qualification? Is there like a checklist of things?
There's no checklist or qualification. But I believe that I definitely will tell someone they did a great job at something, a project they worked on, something they did, something, an adventure a vacation they were on, something that looked nice, that, something they were wearing that was, nice. But I'm not the type of person to just say like, great job, amazing job, if I don't know if I didn't mean it like 100%. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a fine line between encouraging someone and not being rude and messed up, right? But I think if I say something, I like 100% mean it, you know?
Yeah. I think that, there are opportunities that merit a compliment in the form of maybe letting someone know that you saw their effort, letting them know that, oh man, great effort, or I saw that you went out there, you gave it your all, or you're brave for even putting yourself in a position to do whatever it was, whether it's to speak, to sing, to play, to talk, whatever the situation is. And then there's the other side of it, which is, that was really great, or I really liked it because of X, Y, and Z, and stuff like that. And it could be just like our inner podcasting situation, where there are times where people have complimented me on stuff, and then this is one of the tells when it's genuine and when it's just they feel like they need to say something for whatever reason. So somebody will like compliment me on something that maybe I did, and I'll be like, oh man, thank you. What was your favorite part? and then they're just staring at me. Crickets.
Right.
Or they're like, oh, it's just, the whole thing was great or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've had situations like that where it's kind of like, maybe because you're just trying to engage in conversations. Off the bat, I don't, compliments for me are really weird.
Mm-hmm.
They make me really awkward, especially when it has to do with stuff like church related, like ministry wise stuff. Because at the end of the day, like your go-to is glory to God. Mm-hmm. # glory. Like that's kind of like the thing you want to say. But then sometimes that comes off disingenuous to the person when they're trying to be like, no, but you were good. Like what you did was great. So that being put in that position is kind of like weird and awkward for me. Like I'm not the type of person that thrives and like I'm sitting waiting for the compliments.
And I think that's the balance, right? That needs to be developed where you're not expecting it, thriving, living off of it, right? Yeah. You need compliments in order to do your job well, in order to execute well and perform well. But I think, for a while for me, I felt the same way, and I still do at times. I'll struggle with that. But I think there comes a point where you have to kind of know, like, and be able to encourage yourself, like, yeah, I did do a good job. You know what I mean? Like, and people, they recognize that, but I know off the bat, the overwhelming response or the, being called out on the spot in front of everyone and, stand up, we want to just say thank you or acknowledge, all the effort, everything you did and this and the other thing. And it was, that could be a lot, but I think that, like you said, it's developing that healthy balance of knowing what you did and how you did it, that it was well, you gave your all, the results were great, and being able to balance that with, there may be people that will compliment you on that, and then there'll be those that won't. And it's almost like true. I have to learn how to do my job regardless of, everyone saying great job, amazing job. Or if one person told me I did a great job and everyone else is just kind of like business as usual, and that is where you need to, be comfortable in that space where you shouldn't have to be receiving great compliments every time you do something in order to do something well.
Very true. Yeah. And I think that then I think of the people that need to learn how to really manage the currency of giving compliments. And what I mean by that is that there are sometimes people and individuals that give compliments to people all the time. And it's always very broad. Like, we thank you for all that you do. We thank you for, like who you are because we couldn't be nothing without you or whatever. But then you have people that are kind of like aware of what's going on. And it's like, specifically, what are you thanking them about? Because we're part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, so I feel like it loses value when you do that. When you're like always giving compliments, or you're giving compliments because maybe you were giving someone else a genuine compliment. Like, this person really impacted you. Whatever they did was like really great and it's sounding. But then there's somebody else in the room. So you feel the need to be like, oh, by the way, you were good too. I feel like, sometimes maybe that is polite, but I also feel like there's a way to like really, take care of that currency so that people know that whenever you do give compliments, it's like, it really is like genuine.
Yeah. So how's your radar when it comes to that? Are you able to really perceive when someone is giving you a genuine compliment versus when it's just like they have nothing else to say or they just want to say something?
I think I do. I think I have a pretty good.
So like, what are the certain things like you'll go for, like tone of voice, or like, again, were they able to specifically mention something, or I think it depends. Like, sometimes it's like reading the room. Like, maybe someone just finished really giving me a genuine compliment and they feel like they want to like jump on the bandwagon and do that also. Sometimes I'll use the tactic, oh yeah, but what specifically did you like? Or, like, why, thank you, like, or whatever. Like, obviously I don't just be like, why? Why are you complimenting me? Don't do that. It's more like, thank you. But then, like I said, it's my awkwardness. So my awkwardness of not being able to just sit there and then compliment, I have to engage in conversation and be like, oh, but what specifically did you like? Or why did you like it? And stuff like that. So that's a real tell. And I also think that it also depends, because sometimes you're seeing you're doing something and you're seeing the people. Yeah. And when you see that so-and-so was not paying attention, was not engaged, wasn't even there, let's say, for example, but then all of a sudden was, oh man, that was so awesome. How do you know? Right. How do you know you weren't even there? Yeah. You weren't paying attention. I think that at the end of the day, it's always great to receive compliments. At the end of the day, it's always a great feeling, regardless of how
genuine it is or it isn't. You know, but I do think that there is a responsibility with giving compliments that comes with that as well, because you also don't want to be giving compliments to people who maybe need a little correction. And I think that you can give compliments and correction together. But when you're only giving compliments to people and you're not like kind of like helping them or, you know, giving them a suggestion to be better at whatever it was that they're doing, then they're kind of left in a place where they think that I'm killing it. Yeah. I'm doing the best
and you're
thing
actually
out there.
Stunting their growth.
Yeah.
You know, like I was recently in a situation where I was hearing someone, you know, encourage someone, right? Someone else, and, you know, they had just, you know, done what they were supposed to do, their job in, you know, whatever space they were in, and encouraging them, but also in the conversation letting them know, but there was this one area that you didn't really fulfill, or like you didn't do this, you know, and this is one of, you know, the requirements, one of the things, you know, we have to do. So just be sure next time to include that, to do that. And there was someone else overhearing that and kind of jumped in and was like, yeah, but you did so good. You did amazing. And it was like, no one is saying
that they did not.
That they did not, right? But there's a difference between doing amazing and doing good, and doing what you're called to do and doing your job correctly, right? So we can be amazing at so many different things and kill it, right? You can be an amazing singer. You can be an amazing worship leader, right? Within your church and different churches on different stages and platforms, right? You can walk up there with zero rehearsal, zero practice, no vocal warm-ups, nothing. Grab that microphone and start belting away all the notes, hit the notes, have the people pass out, cry in tears, you know, all that rolling around, and leave there having killed it, right? Receive all the compliments. You did so good. It's just that every time you speak, every time you sing, every time you open up your mouth, it's just like the room shifts, right? All the compliments that we hear, right? You do all the glory to God. Thank you, God. Right? It's all God, right? It's all for him, right? All of that. But in reality, there was no preparation, no warm up before, no really excellence in what you did, right? So again, you can receive the compliments and receive all of those things and see, okay, what you did, you know, but now were you fully prepared? Did you do your job to the best of your ability? So it's not just about complimenting people and telling people you did an amazing job. It's also coupling that when the situation needs it, right? Coupling that, like you said, with the area of improvement or growth, you know, and, you know, that's where it becomes kind of, you know, that, weird area or space to navigate, because, you know, obviously you're not just going to go up to random people and tell them that was great, but here are 6 things you can do to make it better next time, right?
You shouldn't.
Like, that's not what we're doing.
There shouldn't be a list of 6 things.
That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
But it's for those individuals who maybe are mentors for other people or leaders for other people or in charge of a certain department at your job or at your work, where it's almost like these are all the areas you're thriving, you're hitting all these marks, you know, and that's great. Awesome job. But then these are the areas that we think we can even do even better.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, look, we have been people that have put productions together. We've choreographed mimes and different type of presentations and all that other stuff. And there have been times.
You said productions and my mind went to movies soon.
No. Yeah, soon. But I've done plenty of plays and like stuff like that or whatever.
Right. My mind went to movies though.
Yes. These are prophetic.
Yes.
Prophetic
as I
thinking.
said, it's coming.
No, what I was going to say was that there have been times where, for example, like we'll put together something and, like you said, we put in the effort. Like, this is not a situation where mercy and grace meet somebody because they were unprepared and that's their track record and that's their habit to be that way. But mercy and grace was available and was there because there was a need in the people. So regardless of the fact that you weren't prepared, you didn't rehearse, you didn't answer messages, you didn't do all these other things, God still moved. That's not about you.
Right.
That's about there being a need for the people and God using you because you were the one that were there at the moment. I'm talking about that there have been times where the people gave 110%, were at all the rehearsals, broke their necks, like really like getting everything together, and maybe they made a mistake. Yeah. So in those situations, after whatever, the choreography, the production or whatever, there would be a conversation of, we smashed it. We gave the best that we gave. We gave 100%. You know, you guys, amazing. But we're about to do this again next week. So these are the 3 things that we just got to keep in mind on, so and so you were late in the transition, so and so you forgot a line, so and so, and these are the things that you can't just be, especially if these are things that you're gonna like redo. Like with the mimes, it was stuff that you would do multiple times in a year. So it's like, if you're gonna do it more than once, you have to give that criticism, you have to give that feedback in order for it to be better for the next time.
Yeah, and it's all in how you present those things and deliver those things. Because I've been in those situations as well, and because of the person you are and how you deliver that message, it's received and it's respected, you know? So it's not just like we're coming across as these people who are telling people all the things that they did wrong, you know? I think, in part, we would also, at least for me, right, I would, if I was, telling someone what they didn't do correct, I made sure to let them know, I messed up on this part. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't do this correctly either. You know what I mean? So I have to work on that. And then let them know, follow up with, and now some of the things you didn't do or so, right? You know what I mean? And like, you always have to position it where people will be able to receive that criticism.
And I think that's important, because I have heard, I have walked in on conversations, or people were having conversations in the room that I'm in, where they did like they were part of something, a production, a set list or whatever. And maybe, let's say that is a situation where you have singers and musicians and all of that. And maybe the singer did mess up. They messed up a cue, or they forgot a lyric, or they forgot a something or whatever. It happens sometimes, regardless of how many screens you have up or whatever the situation may be. Sometimes you forget, you get nervous, you get flustered, or you were like in the zone and then you forgot to come back to earth, or whatever. And they, the person messed up. But then the musicians also messed up too. But when the set is over, they are going in on that poor person that sang without taking into consideration, you know what? So-and-so messed up, that kind of threw us off a little bit, but we also mess up these other 3 times as well. So I think you definitely need to, when you're working in group settings, need to have the awareness to not only pick up on when other people make a mistake, but to also, listen, I have choreographed stuff. I have done a whole bunch of things and, worked with other people where I myself have messed up. I have been in situations where my knee popped out in the middle of a thing or whatever, and I had to like pop it right back in and then keep it moving. You know what I mean? So I understand that it doesn't really matter how many times you try it, because we're human, because that's just the way it is. We may make a mistake. Yeah. Or whatever. That just happens.
And it's hard because a lot of times, like in those situations, right, there are people that see what you put out there and they don't know all of the cues and transitions. They don't know all of those things, right? If you're in a worship setting or in a church, right? The audience a lot of times does not know, right? For the most part, because sometimes you can tell, but for the most part, they don't know, like, wow, you're just coming up with this on the spot. You didn't even, rehearse or think this through fully, right? They don't know that. Yeah. They just know that you're singing this song, you're speaking this message, you're doing this, whatever you're doing. And it's, wow, it's great. And it's resonating with people. So it's hard to balance, right? The great job. Oh my God, you guys did such a great job. It was so good, so anointed, and all those things. And then you're hearing all these compliments from people, and then you have to go now and say, yes, receive all those compliments, but at the same time, we need to improve what we need to improve and work on what we need to work on. So it's almost like, again, you can't let those compliments get to you, where they get to you in such a way that it's almost an excuse as to not put effort or work into what you do. Because I know that I do this so well, people are going to say it's such a great job, that I did amazing, right? I don't need to rehearse. I don't need to work on my craft. I don't need to invest in my craft. I don't need to study. I don't need to do this, to that level of excellence, because every time I go up there, or every time I'm in that space, every time I do it, it's amazing and everyone knows it. But deep down inside, are you happy? Are you content with yourself and what you did? Are you satisfied? Or are you just getting by? So there are individuals that will get by just by other people's compliments, and this is a double-edged sword, because you can get by with other people's compliments and not be putting in the work, right? But then you could also be sacrificing so much and putting in so much work and effort and late hours and studying late at night, to work at your craft and get better and not get the recognition you feel that you deserve, and not get the people telling you great job, and you're like, man, I was up for 3 days straight trying to come up with, that intro to that message or that perfect illustration or that perfect example in class. And then I go and execute and deliver, and it seemed like it didn't really resonate with anyone because no one said anything to me.
Yeah. Or you have the people that are like working in a team, and it's like, you're a production team and you're putting this thing together, and, at the end of the day, it got done and people were touched. And then you have people on your team complimenting you. But then at the end of the day, you don't understand how difficult you made my life because you didn't create the slides you were supposed to create 3 weeks ago.
Right.
You made them tonight. Or you weren't always at rehearsal, but then you want to come and compliment me. But those are things that you can't say in the moment.
Yeah.
You could. But it's kind of like, ya pa que? It's like the moment has passed. But that's the other thing where I feel like certain people like will go to compliment you. But then it's kind of like, that you made this very difficult for me. Right? Like, it's cute that you're saying I did a great job, but you should have been helping me in this journey. And what you were doing was constantly throwing roadblocks and me having to constantly have to figure out different ways to navigate stuff because you weren't as supportive as you should have been.
Yeah.
So that's another way that I can tell when a compliment is genuine, because I'm looking at people like,
you have no self-awareness.
You like, how dare you say I did a good job when you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So.
And it's one of those things, again, where, we look at this idea of just compliments, and it's like, there's so much that we can talk about when it comes to it. You know what I mean? Because then I think of the individual who thrives off of compliments, but not because they necessarily need it, but it just gets to their head. You know what I mean? So they're constantly receiving compliments from people, and now there's like a pride and arrogance issue where they just know and feel that they can do everything and anything, and regardless if they rehearse or not or put in the hours or not, it's going to be amazing because they're amazing, because they know how to speak and captivate people with their words and their energy and their song, and they have an amazing riff that they do, and they have an amazing moment in their message where everyone begins to get real emotional and sad and feel the energy in the room, and then they come in with like that banger at the end to get people hyped, right? Like all of those things where then it's almost like, dude, now you have a pride issue that you have to deal with on top of all these compliments that you don't know how to deal with them. You know what I mean? So it's like, again, you can get the individual that's getting all the compliments that, lacks that self-awareness and identity in themselves, that they just have a struggle and a hard time receiving it. Then you have those that are receiving all the compliments and are just taking it in, it's getting to their head, and now they just have this aura about themselves, or this way of walking and talking where they make no mistake. Everything they do is perfect, and tell me I did great.
And I think I think we have to we have to highlight the fact that that is a normal human experience to be someone who, let's say, is new to a scene or is starting to come out with whatever endeavor, whatever talent, whatever thing that they have, that there comes a point where they start to receive a lot of praise and they start to really receive a lot of compliments, and it does get to your head. And it does make you walk with your chest puffed out a little bit more, or make you walk like you feel like you're on cloud 9. But then that's where you have to remedy that within yourself and find that balance, because that is a high. Like when you have people back to back, people that don't know you, people that know you, whoever, giving you compliments, it feels amazing, regardless of how uncomfortable it makes you feel because of the social attention and all that or whatever. At the end of the day, it's a high,
especially when you put in the work. Yes. Right. And you put in the energy and you put in the thought, and someone's acknowledging that. It's like, as you should. Right. It's True. Like, yes, but you then, like you said, it's almost like, okay, slow down. Because first of all, this ain't even about me. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this for me. Right. And there's always a bigger picture to look at. You know, the end result wasn't to get all the compliments. You know what I mean? So it's like, what is the end result? What is the goal at the end of whatever we're doing? Right. It's not for everyone to tell us that you did amazing, or for everyone to tell you that they cried 3 times, or that, they brought them back to their childhood, right? There's a bigger goal and bigger picture, and only you know that, right? Depending on what space you're in. But it's not about you or what you do.
But I think it's important, because there may be, someone who maybe finds themselves in that situation at the moment where they feel like, no, I am the stuff. I did put in the work. I deserve those compliments or whatever. Yes, you do, but be careful. because that's a very slippery slope. Because then also what happens when you start to feel that high and you start to feel like you're the stuff and all the other stuff, other things, that's where complacency then creeps in, where maybe you were the type of person who was always killing it, always prepared at each and every single rehearsal, on time or early. Like you were the person that's always killing it. And then all of a sudden you start to get this high where everybody keeps saying you're amazing. So then you start to slack off. And you start to not be as prepared, and you start to not give as much of an effort, and you start to not do things the way that you're supposed to be doing it. And then that's where your downfall starts. Yeah. And I speak about that from experience where, I've been in positions where I thought I was the stuff and I was killing it because I was killing it. But then again, you start to get in that high and you start to get in that headspace where it's kind of like, I can just show up and I know I'm gonna kill it. I don't need this or whatever. And then that's when the downfall happens, because it's not only about the ego, but it's also you start to lose your work ethic, which is important.
And it's true. I remember this one time, and it happened not too long ago, right? Where I think sometimes you fall into that trap, not like you're not just jumping into it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you literally like fall or trip into it and you're like, oh snap. Like, and I remember it had been a while since I had written like a complete spoken word and like, put something together. And in my opinion, I think it's, for me, like very different. And I'm like, man, this is like one of my best writings, I think. Like it's really good, and the concept and the idea, and it was personal, and at the same time like a parallel to a biblical story. And I remember just kind of presenting it in front of in a church setting, and I didn't get the response I thought it was going to get, right? And that's important, because it's like, in my mind, I expected for people to be like, whoa, like that was whoa. And not so much because it was me, but because of the message behind it and the words and, all of that. And I remember like leaving and being just like, man, I don't think it hit the way I thought it was, or I don't think. And for a while, I kind of just like, it's almost like you never want to go back to that again, or that feeling of like everything you worked for and worked hard in writing and rewriting and changing whatever, they didn't either they didn't appreciate it, it wasn't that great, or they thought it was the same, whatever it was. There's so many different things. It discouraged me for a minute, and that's normal. You know what I mean? Because again, you want people to resonate with something. You want people to enjoy something. You want people, and it's best when they tell you, because then it's almost like, like, okay, this is cool. Like they liked it, And I remember randomly, it was like a whole month later, in a conversation that I didn't expect for this person to bring that moment up. They brought it up and brought up how they were speaking to people about it that were there that day. And, I didn't even really get into like the meaning behind the poem or the biblical parallel or any of that. And they kind of mentioned it, like it reminded me of this story and that and that. And it was like funny, because on that day, if I would have known that even just you were thinking all that and processing all that, like I would have been like, okay, somebody got it. Like they were there with me, So again, it's like that idea of sometimes you have to go through those moments to remind yourself you do what you do, not for what people say about it. Yes. Right? Not for the compliments, not for the praise, not for the, wow, this was great, keep it up, do more, right? That's not why you do things, right? But then when you are the individual that is blessed by something, when you are the person that is sitting there listening and you were touched and you were ministered to, make sure you let them know. Yes. Make sure you tell them that what they did, how they did it, really blessed your life, because I think a lot of times, not that you need it or that you thrive off of it, there are moments where that really encourages someone to keep going, to keep developing, to keep working on what they do, to keep, investing in their gift and in their craft. Yeah. So it's like those lessons that sometimes you just have to learn, and be reminded of, like, okay, hold up. I don't do it for people to tell me that the words were nice. I don't do this for people to tell me they like the creativity and the concept. You know what I mean? It's a bigger reason. There's a bigger, purpose behind it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I think the wrap up is really understanding balance. As a person who is giving out compliments, understand balance. That don't give them out just to give them out. Just don't do it just for the fluff. Do it so that it's purposeful and is meaningful. And that way, if anybody ever asks you why you're specifically giving them that compliment, you have a reason. And then as a person who's receiving compliments, you have to, or not, you have to balance that out. Where sometimes it's great to receive compliments, but keep yourself grounded. And then maybe you're going through a situation or a season in your life where you aren't getting as many compliments as you would like. Stay grounded. At the end of the day, we're here doing things and, you know, putting stuff out there, and they're like seeds that are landing in people's hearts. Sometimes someone lets you know, hey, I caught that, and then other times you don't have any idea or any clue. Sometimes in the future, like with your situation, it does come up again, and then other times you won't find out maybe until you make it to heaven.
Yeah,
and then the Lord is opening up your book, and it's like, here are the people you have touched in your lifetime. You know, so that's, and
it would be a shame to have stopped. It would have been a shame to have given up, a shame to have not done anything else with your gift because you feel that people didn't appreciate it or people didn't tell you. You know what I mean? Because then there are seasons where everyone will go through those moments where no one is telling you great job, and not all the time is it a negative thing. They're just, you know, people are people. You know what I mean? And you may be going through a time where it's like you just feel like no one is really appreciating what you do and how you do it and how you work and, you know, within your job or whatever it is. And you lack sometimes that support from others. And those seasons are okay. And you have to learn how to navigate through those seasons. You know what I mean? And that's where you really, you know, depend on God and cling to Him to know He's the one that validates you. He's the one that gives you purpose and really grounds you. Because at the end of the day, you don't do it for the people.
True.
We don't do what we do for people. We don't sit here at this table to talk and whatever for people's, you know, great podcast. You know, that was great. You know,
we do it for the people, but not to receive any feedback back from the people.
Right.
You know, so
again, because Lord knows that, again, when you have a passion for something, when you have a drive, you know, to do something and a focus, a mission, a goal in mind, and just when you enjoy what you do, you know, all those things really are secondary. You know, and all those things really just, you know, are add-ons to what you do when you're having a good time and when you enjoy what you do. You know, and it reminds me of also the whole social media conversation, how, you know, people may not be complimenting you in person, but I think a lot of times when we post things on social media and there aren't as many likes or aren't as many comments or all those things, we kind of get in our feelings as well. You know, so in an age of social media and all of these different things, I think it's also important to remember, right, keeping all of that in check, the likes and the engagement in check, knowing that that doesn't mean much, to be honest.
Yeah, because like that's a perfect example, because you'll have people that saw whatever you posted, but just didn't hit the like button for whatever reason. There's some people that are real stingy with their like buttons, and there's some people that they received it and then they kept it scrolling and just forgot about it. So that doesn't mean that you didn't reach someone. It doesn't mean that someone came across it and didn't like it. It's just sometimes people don't give that quote unquote validation that you're looking for. So just because you don't have the likes or you don't have the insight or the statistics that you want to have, at the end of the day, that can't be what you're really focusing on when you're doing something for God. Now, if you're doing something as a business and you're doing something for yourself, then obviously the numbers do matter, because you need to market and you need to, you know, make sure you're reaching a target audience and all of that. But when you're doing something for God, that is His responsibility. As long as you're giving excellence, as long as you're putting in the work, as long as you're diversifying yourself, that's what matters.
Absolutely. So definitely keep that in mind. Even though they may not like it, they're always watching.
They're always watching. That's a fact. So go ahead. Where can the people find us? I mean, if you're listening to us, you know where we're at. We're just in case you forget.
So you can definitely find us on social media at Facebook and Instagram at God Life Culture Podcast. You can hit that subscribe button if you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you're listening to your podcast. Subscribe to us there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for engaging with our channel and our visual. Check out our previous videos and podcast episodes. Last week, we put up a video reaction to Blanca's song, New Day. So definitely go and check out that song and let us know what you think in our reaction video, and do all of those things. And we hope that you all have a great week.
Yes, but go ahead and like, subscribe, do all that great stuff. Not because we need it, but because it would be nice. So thank you once again for tuning into the latest episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. That's God Life Culture. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.